Welcome to Rucks, Mauls and Oval Balls. That's right, it's the fans' favourite rugby podcast back once again with the fans' favourite, I'd like to think, rugby podcast hosts. It's me, Dave, joined as ever by Rory. Rory, as ever, say hello to the listener.
Hello listeners. Hello David, how are you?
Hello Rory. Yeah, I'm very, very well, thank you. More to the point, have you recovered from your ill health of last week and technical difficulties? How are things going in Casa Rory?
Casa Rory, tech-wise we're absolutely fine. Health-wise we're about 80% of the way there.
We'll take that. Every day of the week, I'd say 80%'s
80% is pretty much good enough for me.
It's the new 100%, I heard. How about your weekend exploits? Any rugby to just kind of canter us through, or any?
No games this week. No games this weekend. Just an opportunity to go and hang out with a few mates and bloody enjoy Super Saturday, which is what I did. Did require some revision, but pre-podcast to remind myself of just the finer details of the games.
I imagine some of the memories may have been a bit hazy.
There are a couple of tries from the England game I did not remember.
That's fine. It's just a good excuse to watch it back again. Oh yeah, I've just remembered how that game ended. Rory, as we've discussed, I've gone back to man versus fat, right?
Yeah.
What's one thing that everyone always says about old DMJ on the rugby pitch?
Quickest man over 3 meters.
No, it's just that he's a cool, calm, collected customer. But he doesn't stand for injustice.
You are so keen on justice.
So keen on justice. And, it turns out there's a referee at Man v Fat now who just kind of boils my buttons a little bit. And I had a little hissy fit, Rory.
You're kicking off at Man v Fat?
Not kicking off, just, toys out of pram stuff. But
paint a picture for me.
Entirely warranted, I would add. It's just the inconsistency, Rory. The captain of our team rightfully challenged the referee. He says he's ignoring the offside line in favour of attacking play. Fine, I'm all for a bit of jouet. But when I have 3 tries chalked off for me being offside, when other players have done the exact same thing, and I've deliberately done what other players have been allowed to do, and I'm the one getting pinged, I'm not having it, Rory. I'm not having it. So
you're being singled out.
I'm being.
Are you falling foul of your own celebrity, do you think?
It's an anti-podcaster rhetoric that's developed in this referee's brain. That's the only thing I can think of, because
this is how we don't move the sport forward when people are against those of us just creating content.
I know. Someone came up to me at the end and said, "Oh, we're here to lose weight," and I said, "I'm not going to lose weight being, stood on the side of the pitch throwing my toys out the pram. I'm here for content. I'm here to have fun." And the referee got in the way of both of those things by just being plain old anti-DMJ. But one thing I did learn, Rory, is I came back on, obviously, after cooling down a bit, and I played angry. Rory. Turns out that's when some of my best rugby comes out, because we absolutely turned it round and stormed home to a victory. So,
red is it?
So, yeah, it's Team Red, the Scale Sharks. And, I'm not saying redemption arc. It's a bit early for that, perhaps.
We're not saying that.
We're not saying that. And, I look forward for the ref to try and get his own back for the remainder of the season, because I feel it's a personal attack on me personally. And I will not be stopped, Rory, in my mission to score tries and in the sidelines lose weight, but mainly to score tries.
I completely sympathise. I've had run-ins with a few referees this year in my role as captain of the Lions, and I tell you what, I like to think of myself as a bit of a diplomat, David, but at certain points this season, it's gotten a bit dicey.
Yeah, well, it's just when they're so obviously wrong, and then they double down on their wrongness.
Wrong? Why are they always wrong?
I know.
Referees.
I'm always right. They're always wrong. It's
correct.
Just get on board, referees. But, I'll keep you posted on how the season goes. I imagine this won't be the last time I'll be talking about this referee, because...
And the important Man v Fat metrics, how are they trending?
We don't talk about those, Rory.
Oh, right, okay. Well, we'll give that a swerve.
We'll give that a swerve this week. Let's just say
Are we heading north rather than south?
We're heading north rather than south at the moment, put it that way. But, it is a marathon, not a sprint. And
although both of those would be good for losing weight.
Both of those would be good for losing weight. And both of them do not sound very appealing right now. That's enough about me, Rory. That's enough about you, Rory. We need to talk about the proper stuff. And
let's get into it.
This weekend, obviously, Super Saturday, final round of the Six Nations. I think maybe before we dig into the games per se, overall generic feelings about the tournament as a whole, Rory.
I mean, I have to step outside of my role as England fan, and looking at it objectively, it's one of the best tournaments ever. It's one of the best Six Nations in history. Absolute twists and turns week on week. Literally up until the final whistle, you did not know how it was going to finish.
Yeah.
I think I think every team in the tournament, every single team has got a fascinating narrative for how this tournament's played out. For better or worse, every single one, you come away and you go, there's a proper story as to how this team has traversed the last 6 weeks. Every year we say it as rugby fans, it's the greatest tournament of any sport in the world. It just delivers. It just always delivers. And it's delivering more than ever now as the gaps between the teams are so close at the moment. They may not stay like this forever. These things, if teams fall away, teams improve, but 2026 absolutely delivered a phenomenal tournament.
Yeah, I completely echo that. I think it's definitely been one of the best. You do have to take that England rose tinted hat off in order to step back and really appreciate for what the tournament was, because for certain groups of fans, like you say, there is a narrative there, perhaps not necessarily a most positive one for the England fan, but we could touch on that a little bit. But I do think the tournament as a whole really delivered in terms of quality of rugby. I think was generally really, really good. I think each team did not really let themselves... 5 out of 6 teams didn't let themselves down most weeks. I think we have stumbled into a phase of the Six Nations life cycle where it really is getting closer to anyone being able to beat anyone. And it just makes future iterations quite exciting, and you can see why this really is the holy grail, the crown jewel of Northern Hemisphere rugby, because it rightfully deserves to be top of the table. With that being said, Rory, Super Saturday being that little jewel that sits upon that crown, and I'm going to sit here and say it delivered. Now we're going to talk through the 3 games that took place chronologically, and I think no better place to start in that sense, because it's chronologically at the Aviva Stadium with Ireland versus Scotland. Now, as you sat down with your friends to have a first couple of little shandies, Rory, what were your thoughts on this game? Because I'm guessing this is the game where your memories are best.
Yes. They start to grey about sort of
10
a
minutes
quarter of the way through the Wales game, I would say. Look, this game, this was a fascinating game in the build-up, because there's 2 such competing narratives. Scotland, obviously, completely on the up after demolishing France last week, completely unexpectedly. Ireland, steadily built throughout this tournament, and getting back towards their pre-Lions best. The way this game played out is probably the one that played out closest to what I would have expected.
Yeah.
But it did throw up some outrageous moments, some outrageous passages. I think Ireland, if you're being uncharitable, you would probably say this was an Ireland performance out of the Ireland playbook. Right?
An Andy Farrell clinic.
Yeah, they put on the absolute, the Gaelic clinic here. They, not Gaelic, Gaelic's France. They strangled Scotland at times up front, moved the ball really well between the forwards and the backs, lots of lovely hands, lots of lovely lines. Maybe still not that top end power you get from someone like a France or a South Africa, but clever play that constantly got them go forward ball when they had it on, put the pressure on, kick to the corner, keep the pressure on, foot on the throat, find the edge, find the gap, find the soft shoulder, and score the try. I think you saw that from the Osborne try, the Sheehan try, the Balakoon try. I mean, they all broadly played out to this narrative of Ireland forming in phase play the way that they are capable of doing, but we maybe didn't see so much in the earlier rounds of the tournament. We saw it more against England. We saw it a bit against Wales, but we really saw it this week where when Ireland get into that kind of flow state of how they play, it's very, very difficult to stop because there's so many competing threats at any one time. Scotland, on the other hand, moments of real genius. I mean, the Darcy Graham try after 6 minutes in reply to Osborne's opener was world class. I mean, it's as good a try from a blueprint of how you play test match rugby with the ball in hand. It's as good a try as you'll ever see. Just the way they kept it, they kept moving it, generated speed of ball when they needed to, and then eventually just found the edge and put Darcy Graham over in the corner with really, really good hands from Kinghorn in particular under real pressure. But I think Scotland are going to have to come away from this thinking kind of it's sort of the same old story, particularly against Ireland. Moments of brilliance. I think all three of Scotland's tries were fantastic. Russell's finish. Actually, Russell scores that. When Russell scores tries, he tends to score that try. It just tends to be the way he scores. He just
he only deals with magnificent.
Yeah, he just deals with the ability to create uncertainty in a defensive line that he can capitalise on, and he's it's always easy to forget because he's such a good ball player, because he's such a good kicker. It's sometimes easy to forget what a good player he is ball in hand as well, running with it and taking those opportunities. That's not easy under that kind of pressure. So I think it was a 3-on-3, I think, on the edge, and against that Ireland team, you tend to back towards the defence. But Russell just makes it look easy. Dar just tries a really good line to finish it off. Again, it's just great phase play. But ultimately, I think their discipline didn't quite hit as well as they coughed up penalties under pressure. They gave away field position. And against an Ireland team that's that metronomic when they've got the ball in hand, it's just bloody hard to stop. And then making mistakes, when after Rory Dodgers tried about an hour in, and you think, I think at that point it was 21-26. There's a real opportunity there, but then the pressure tells, a poor kick in, they give up the opportunity. Tommy O'Brien's first try, I mean, the hands, Crowley to Frawley to Tommy O'Brien. I mean, it is. The ability to move the ball that well under pressure on the game line it's frightening at times. When if you've ever been a defender in that situation and you're just seeing the ball whip across you under that kind of proximity, you just go, what am I supposed to do here? I'm as close as I can be. But Ireland just ruthless in the end, absolutely ruthless, and finished off their opportunities.
Yeah, to me, it felt like Ireland had a kind of a bee in their bonnet, because I think Scotland had almost adopted a very Irish style of play where they were getting a lot of success in their previous rounds. So I thought Ireland maybe thought, hang on, we're the masters of this craft, and they really put foot to the throat. Like Scotland had been making every single breakdown an absolute nuisance, both sides of the ball this entire tournament, whereas this game, Scotland only had one turnover the entire game. Ireland absolutely schooled them in that, and I think that's why it almost is probably the only game of this round that went as I probably would have predicted at the start of this tournament, because both teams kind of reverted to type after what has been quite a journey through this tournament for both sides. So I think it's quite interesting how that's happened.
Absolutely. And you make a really good point at the breakdown, because Scotland's work at the breakdown against England and France was central to how they demolish both those teams. Ireland are the masters of the breakdown. That is one of the key tenets to how they've built this.
I'm pretty sure it's taught at every rugby college from the age of 5. The art of the breakdown, double session between break time and lunchtime.
Yeah, absolutely, because they just have an inherent ability to secure their own ball and disrupt opposition ball. If you look across their team, you've obviously got Van der Fleer, who's your out and out jackler, but Caelan Doris, Tag Byrne, Jack Conan, Dan Sheehan, McCloskey and Ringrose, all just dangers at the breakdown. And in the end, it put pay to Scotland. They just couldn't really cope with it. When maybe they just ran out a bit of steam in the end after what they've done against England and France.
Yeah.
But they will come away gutted. Rightly so. A tournament that showed so much promise ended in 3rd place again. You know, as a high watermark for the talent in that team, it's not really good enough. But Ireland showed them once again. This is how you win tense Test matches, and it's you absolutely secure your ball and you disrupt the opposition at every opportunity.
Yeah, I also think this is the tournament where Ireland have shown that they are able to adapt slightly, and I think the emergence of Crowley and McCloskey as their 10-12, I think is something that is a real big tick in the box for Farrell this tournament, because I think McCloskey has really grown into that 12 shirt enormously, and it's one hell of a big shirt for a hell of a big rugby player. And Crowley has really put the Ireland 10 shirt debate to bed for a while. I'd be surprised if he was unseated from that before the World Cup again, because I think he's really shown.
I think he's absolutely secured it.
Yeah.
And they've got Osborne at 15.
Yeah, Balakoon.
Given that they're missing Kean, obviously. Yeah. They're missing Mac Hansen. James Lowe's been in and out of the team, but now you've got Balakoon, who looks absolutely superb. Stockdale's had really good moments in the tournament. Tommy O'Brien looked really good. We really questioned this at the start of the tournament. Do Ireland have the squad to maintain these levels? I don't know the it's completely answered, but it's looking pretty close. It's at the moment it looks remarkably like Ireland might have a serious squad that they can take. Again, there's still questions here. I know they've re-signed. I think Sheehan, Gibson Park, Aki, and James Lowe have all re-signed with the IRFU today, I think.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one, but okay, that's big news.
I think it was those 4. Might not be James Lowe, forget.
That shows the 4 that are heading to R360.
Yeah, but it also, those players are still going to be another 18 months older by the time of the next tournament. So we'll see where their levels are at that point. I still think that is a question. I think it's a fair question of the Irish squad. Does the age profile?
I think the scrum half position for me is still a massive worry if I was an Ireland fan about what you do post Gibson Park.
Well, what do you do if Gibson Park is crook?
Yeah. That would worry me a bit.
That would be a worry, but take nothing away from them.
Absolutely.
From where they started this tournament to now, they've proved their levels are, they've proved the class is permanent in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also a nice little shout out, because at the start of this tournament we said the Ireland scrum's going to struggle. I think Tom O'Toole, who's a converted tight head, coming over and covering the loose head, I think he's done a sterling job operating on his less favoured side, and what was perceived to be a big weakness didn't really turn out to be after the first week or so. I don't think many teams really put them to the sword at the scrum time. So yeah, I think overall Ireland got a pretty solid grade out of this tournament. They were very close to, well, actually, yeah, if we're going to talk chronologically, this put Ireland in as strong a position as they possibly could be to have tried to wrestle back the Six Nations title and really put the pressure on France. I wonder what happened in that final game. We'll get to that, listener. We'll get to that. I hope we're not going to spoil anything for you. I'd like to think there's no spoilers here. But
I would hope not.
Yeah, if you don't know the results, this is not the podcast to listen to. But yeah, ultimately, so Ireland, they won 43-21, which I think flatters them a little bit, the scoreline, because I do think it was closer than that generally. Yeah. But I also think it reflects a quite dominant all-round performance from Ireland, and they had the answers to Scotland's questions kind of throughout the 80. And as you say, Scotland will just go back up to Glasgow and try and figure out how they can finish higher than third with this golden generation. Maybe they should be called the bronze generation. I don't know. Let's move on, Rory. Let's move on to the next game in the list. A game that I tipped to be the game of the round last week. I'm not going to sit here and say that is exactly how it panned out. But I know there's a certain portion of our listener base who is going to be very, very pleased with this this fixture. Wales versus Italy. Wales's opportunity to grab a victory and show everyone the fruits of their labour through this tournament and show that they've been improving. And I'm going to sit here and say it, Rory. That was one hell of a performance from Wales.
100%. You know, I think with the last couple of weeks we've talked about there being green shoots in the Wales performances and starting to see some uptick in what we think the coaches were trying to do. Absolutely saw the fruits of the labour here. Emotionally, physically, tactically, absolutely spot on throughout this game. Big players really standing up and taking ownership of a performance. Aaron Wainwright, Dewi Lake, Totemic in the pack. 3 tries between the two of them. Whole back row, really. Alex Mann, Jones Botham, just a nightmare for Italy all day. You know, the line out completely stabilised. They had a maul that was effective. It's got 2 tries off the back of line out mauls. You know, you think compared to the start of the tournament when they were getting absolutely torn apart up front. You know, they are now in a position where their pack is competitive, bordering on dominant. You know, that is a huge shift. In the back line, you know, Thomas Williams just making the game plan tick, moving the ball, keeping them moving. Dan Edwards coming of age.
Yeah,
for him.
One of his best games, yeah.
Yeah, one of his best games, showing why he's so highly rated, showing why he was sought by several clubs when there was a whispers of him leaving Ospreys. You know, he's got all the lovely skills that you want from a fly half. He's not a small lad. He's got enough pace that you saw in his try. He's got enough pace to cause you problems. And then he's also got the bottle to slot over a drop goal on the angle at 45 metres. You know, that is the sign of a player who's got the swagger to be a test match fly half.
Yeah. I do sense he's a confidence player, though. So it's about what happens when he's low on confidence. But ride it while it's high.
It's also the confidence that you get when you have a pack that is not getting battered backwards. You know, and they weren't. They were on the front foot. I mean, for at least the first 50 minutes of this game.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
were absolutely on the front foot at all occasions. They, you know, Rhys Carré, I mean, the criminal nature that successive Wales coaches haven't seen a way to get the best out of him. He's physically frightening.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
You know, guy that big, that mobile, you know, and there was always question marks about his scrummagings. Well, that's what a coaching team's meant to do. You're meant to help improve players.
Yeah.
And, you know, his scrummaging's fine now. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be the most destructive loosehead, but he's...
No. I'd argue if a scrum coach couldn't get a half-decent scrummager out of a 6'5", 21 stone loosehead prop, they're probably not a good scrum coach.
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing if you think you can't turn him into a scrummager?
Yeah.
I mean, he's... But, you know, in terms of his work rate around the pitch, you know, I mean, he was so gassed by the time he came off, but he deserved to look gassed because he absolutely flogged himself out there. Tackles, carries, just grunt work as well, just everywhere around the pitch. Dewi Lake, again, runs himself into the ground. Just, I mean, I've been a fan of Dewi Lake for a long time, but...
Ever since he signed for Gloucester.
Even before then, that's why I was so pleased. But I think there have been question marks about him at Test match level. I think you may have questioned it actually at times as well.
Yeah. I've never really been that enamoured by his performances, but I'd certainly say he's certainly ended up higher up my scale of liking a player than he started at this tournament, put it that way.
Well, I think, in a lot of ways, he's had the most impossible job as a captain over the last 12 months. It was that is an absolute hospital pass to take as to be the captain of your country, particularly when Jack Morgan's either unavailable or injured. That is not a great position to be in. But he has fronted up to the media every time. I don't think anyone can. You can question a lot of the things he's done on the pitch. There have been obviously the missed tap against England, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think anyone can question the effort he's been putting in. He feels like the sort of personality that would make players want to play for him, and that's the kind of bloke that a team like this really needed. And I think you're now seeing everyone kind of rising up to that level with him. And you throw in Jack Morgan back into this team.
Yeah. Just feels harsh on James Botham.
It does feel harsh on James Botham. And Jack Morgan's not necessarily immediately back into this team. If he gets back to his levels, he sort of is. Yeah. But it's not like if Jack Morgan was sort of on 60% fitness, they'd throw him in because they were so desperate. They've got genuine back row options now.
Yeah.
I thought it was excellent from Wales from start to finish. It looked ominous early doors. And I think when Wainwright finishes off that first try, I probably thought Italy haven't turned up here and Wales look desperate for it, which I think is exactly where they needed to be at.
Yeah, there is a question mark around the Italy, certainly at the start, like a number of missed tackles and things like that. It's unlike we'd seen all tournament from Italy. You do wonder whether they were as up for it as they was the previous four rounds. But
I think that's the long and short of it is Italy didn't turn up in this game for at least for the first 50 minutes, and even then they weren't that good for the last half an hour. They were just marginally more on top. Players that up to this point have been superb in every round, but your Fischettis, your Nicoteras, your Canonis, Zuliani, even Lamoureux, none of them really looked like they were.
The pack did not look like they were anywhere near as up for it as they were the other games at all.
And we say Italy have got a history of not backing up victories. Now they obviously have backed up a victory in this tournament, but a ruthless tier 1 nation, even if Wales are absolutely bang up for it, goes to the Principality and wins this game because Italy still had more than enough quality in that team on paper to do that, but they just emotionally were not right for this one. And that's something that they're going to have to reckon with. Very few good performances on their side.
I think for me, their game turned around when they swapped scrum half for Varney. Because I don't think starting 9, whose name escapes me right now, Fusco, I don't think he had a very good game at all.
No.
Varney came on and he kind of upped the tempo. His distribution was a bit better. The kicking was better. I think that was a bit of a turning point for Italy. But obviously, Manoncello was excellent, but he's always excellent.
Yeah, but Brexton Cello was still good. Both of them were, but they can't rely on them to get them out of trouble in these kind of games. You need the pack to turn up, and they didn't on this occasion. And
I'm pretty sure Italy haven't been nilled this entire tournament for a half, and they went in at half-time 21-0 down. And that's a hard... It doesn't happen very often that you come back from that sort of kind of scoreline. So they had an uphill battle that they weren't able to conquer.
And it was one of those days where, I think Wales set the tone early. The intensity in their tackling was a level that we haven't really seen up to this point. Intensity in their carries that we haven't seen before. But we also, things like, there was a moment when the ball was spilled out the back in Wales's 22 and Italy put on real pressure and it breaks to Reece Samet, who puts a phenomenal kick, basically dead up the tram lines, chases it down, snags the player, and they force a turnover and win the penalty. And it's a small patch to play in the grand scheme of the game, but it was really indicative of the intensity of the chase from Reece Samet, but also the rest of the Wales team was really indicative of where they were at in this match. And the fact that Italy hadn't got back at the same pace to support them was really indicative of where they were at.
Yeah.
And I suspect, well, possibly a case of celebrating beating Inglaterra a little too
maybe
enthusiastically. To an extent you can understand it, but you've got an opportunity to have your best tournament in history. You could conceivably break the top three.
Yeah.
Ruthless teams take those opportunities, and at the moment, this Italian team may be just lacking that little bit more. They're capable of it, but
we've seen that. Yeah.
Consistently, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe the consistency is the big question mark now about kind of being able to back up results week in, week out.
Yeah,
that is the next step for them. It's where it's less of a talking point about the fact they're getting wins. It becomes more of a talking point about how many wins they're getting in a row, or kind of putting teams like Wales to the sword, whether it's home or away. But hey, I still think Italy's tournament as a whole has been a positive one.
They're still trending in the right direction completely. Over the long term, they're 100% trending in the right direction.
And another nation that's trending in the right direction has to be Wales, because from where they've started this tournament with that game against England, which was, let's face it, a bit of a car crash, I think the writings have been a little bit on the wall, because I think their performances kind of each round have been getting better and better.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
I think this showed something that I think Wales fans needed in 2026, because they've been battered for the last 12 months.
Well, yeah, and the atmosphere in the ground seemed brilliant. I need to speak to my brother. I haven't seen him. He actually went, so I need to ask him about what it felt like. But on the telly, it looked phenomenal in the ground. And I think Wales fans haven't asked a huge amount actually in this period. They're not asking for Grand Slams.
Oh, they're
just asking for performances.
Very reasonable fan base, you must say. Yeah.
Then they're realistic about where they're at the moment, but they're asking for a performance and for a team that puts in the same emotional heft to a game that they as fans feel for it. And in this game, they got it. And, I look across that Wales team and I still maintain there's real quality across it. But it's taken time for the coaching team, I think, to imprint the confidence in them as much as anything. As much as it is tactical or strategic or whatever it is, it just felt like a confidence and maybe connecting with them in a way that gets them firing on game day. And I think Steve Tandy's now put himself in a position where he can say he knows the players that are going to turn up of a test match, and that's important. That's so important from his point of view, because I don't think it was obvious at all at the start of the tournament what their first 15, let alone their 23, would look like.
Yeah,
it's now really close, and he's now got an opportunity to build on that. You just hope the politics don't get in the way of
that's the big worry,
the team performing. But that's always going to be the concern with Wales at the moment. It sounds like they're still forging ahead with current plans, so it'd be interesting to see how that kind of all lands in the end. But I'm actually chuffed for them, because I think they've needed it. I think the tournament needed it, because actually having Wales be consistently cut adrift wasn't good for the tournament. It's not a good look for the tournament to have a team cut adrift in the same way it wasn't when it was Italy. You need all the teams to be competitive with each other to one extent or another, and actually it's another wooden spoon, but it's enough green shoots that I think the Welsh fans can be really optimistic about the direction that Steve Tandy's taking the team in. Forget the rest of it, but what Steve Tandy's doing and his team are doing with this group of players, I think there's a genuine cause for optimism about what they might be able to do together.
Yeah, so it's like a really nice wooden spoon that's like come as part of a really nice baking set, and they're just waiting see what the product is at the end of this bake. So don't worry, Wales fans. The wooden spoon is integral to what the end result's going to look like. I will say, because I've been watching the under-20s, obviously, this year. The Wales under-20s, I know we've had question marks about some of like the gaps in their team. They've certainly got some players coming through who I think could be the answer to where those gaps are at the moment. So, future's not looking quite so shabby for Wales now. And as you say, with Tandy, I feel like he's got that emotional dial tuned in to the perfect spot for that Wales team. And I think we're seeing that being reflected in performances. Wales came away with the win, 31-17, kind of dampening the Italian optimistic end to a tournament that could have been, but certainly, a reality check for the Italians, who will look back at this as maybe a missed opportunity, but also have to put into hindsight how good of a tournament this has been for Italy, considering the number of players that they've had out and kind of them blooding some of their own new players. This tournament's been a real positive news story for them as well. And Wales being able to have that not quite fairy tale ending, but ending on a high, which is probably what they deserved after their building through this tournament. Now, Rory, chronologically, pressure put on England, I think, to avoid the wooden spoon. They had to avoid losing by 86 points or more, and let's face it, going into this game, couldn't rule it out based on previous form. France had it all to play for. They needed to get a win in order to secure the Six Nations. Anything less than a win would not have been good enough. And the Stade de France certainly put on a show. The atmosphere, the ambiance, the build-up, it was spot on for what was one of, if not, well, it was certainly the best game of the tournament, and one of the better games of rugby I've watched in quite a while, Rory. Again, kind of taking my allegiance out of it. One hell of a game of rugby.
Yeah, c'est magnifique. It required an answer from England, a big answer, after the last few weeks. I mean, and do you know what? I actually don't care about the final result. I mean, I wanted us to win this game. Obviously, I'm gutted that Ramos got that kick at the end to win it. And there's things to pick apart, and there's still massive improvements, and there's still problems. But it's the most points England have ever scored in France. It's frustrating that it's taken to now for this to happen.
Yeah.
And that's something I think we need to discuss when we're kind of reviewing England overall. But just taking this game in isolation, it was so good to see the things that, look, you and I have been dissecting these poor England performances over the last 3 weeks, and there are some themes that we really keep coming back to. It's the intensity of carries into contact, particularly from the forwards. It's the ability to put on footwork. It's the ability to move the ball at the line, change the point of contact. It's players running with intent to find space and moving the ball rather than going straight to the kick. If you're kicking with purpose, kicking with a direction, kicking with an end goal in mind. And England in this game answered the question as to whether they were capable of doing those bits that make good test teams great test teams. And, all we've seen now is the possibility that England can do it, and the possibility that England can do it against one of the strongest test nations in the world. But it was so important to see that in this match for the fans to get a glimmer of optimism going ahead to what is an interesting summer program with the first iteration of the Nations Championship. Obviously, the next match England will play is away at South Africa.
Yeah.
Now, there's going into away at South Africa having lost 4 games on the bounce, and there's going away to South Africa having lost 4 games on the bounce. This is an occasion where it's, okay, we've lost 4 games on the bounce, but we might be able to actually do something with this. There might be, there might be some optimism here. The signs were really good early on. So Atkinson had try and chalked off in the first minute or so after off an Elliot Daly grubber kick that was really, really good. Obviously, there was a knock on, it didn't quite work out, but the signs were really good. Finn Smith was running with the ball straight away. That was really noticeable from the first time England got their hands on it. It wasn't that Finn Smith was immediately looking for the space to kick. He was running with the ball, looking for the space to run into.
Yeah,
and that was so.
Well, it's different. It's different to what we've seen all tournament. Yeah,
so different from what we've seen all tournament, and I think again really important for Finn Smith to bring that to this game, because I think that was not a question mark on his ability to do that, because we've seen him do it for Saints, but can he do it at this level in these kind of situations? He needed to show that he had an all-court game, and I think he's shown that in this one.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it doesn't go to plan the whole game at all. So it starts off, for whatever reason, despite the fact picking 3 second rows, England don't pressure most France lineouts. I just find a strange decision. Now, I might be completely off the mark, and maybe the French lineout is so intricate and difficult to decipher that even Alex Coles and Ollie Chesham, two of the best lineout operators in the Prem, couldn't find a way to get anyone up off the ground to pressure it, but they don't. And that leads to the Louis first try after 6 minutes, I think it is, which... I'm not going to criticise any England players too much on this game in terms of things that haven't happened. I would say Caden Murley had some moments that were very reminiscent of his game against Ireland last year. In this one where he fluffs the opportunity to either grab the ball or just hit BRBRA, he gets it wrong and Labib runs it in. But to the credit, England comes straight back to it. The forwards are running hard, knocking the French defence backwards, which it's a big French pack, and England were running with real intensity. And they get really good phase play. Itoje was carrying the ball better than I've seen him carry it in years.
It's like a different player.
Different man. Ollie Chesham and Ellis Genge throughout the whole game, just so prominent with the ball in hand. Ellis Genge in particular looked like, I don't know, someone had chucked wasps down his underwear before he went out there. I don't know what was going on with it.
He looked like he'd been listening to our podcast all tournament and he's had enough.
Yeah. It felt like an Ellis Genge, I'm answering some fucking critics kind of performance.
Yeah.
And he did, I think, for my money. So the first try from Roebuck's great. So it's great phase play. It went back and forth like that all game, right? It's good moments like that, but then Ellis Genge knocks it on from the kick-off and from the first phase off scrum. Another kick behind, goes behind Roebuck, and Daly. Roebuck shoots up. They kick behind him. Daly's had to follow Roebuck to try and fix a dog leg. Big space in behind. They gather the ball. The beep scores again.
Yeah.
And that whatever's happening on the edge, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert in edge defence.
No,
it's not where if I'm on the edge in the defensive line, I'm well aware that we're in trouble. But it was really obvious, and I wonder if it's just from not having a settled back three. Freeman obviously coming in now, not having a consistent fullback, not having a consistent two wingers. I think in the summer they need to settle on a back three, and assuming they can all stay fit, stick with them. That's
been the problem. It's fitness. It's not that they don't want to settle on a back three. It's just players keep getting blimmin' injured, Rory, or can't stop being injured in Furbank's in case.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate, but they're going to have to find a way to get three robust players in the back three that they can play week in, week out, because it's such an obvious problem. I mean, there was another. Obviously, Murley scores a good try, so more good phase play. Seb Atkinson moving the ball to Freeman, who carries it well, and then Ben Spencer grubbers. Ash Selby misses the ball, and Murley dots it down. Great, big tick for Murley. The next thing Murley does is Ramos kicks the ball over the top. It bounces back, and it's so close to being a Jalibert try out of nothing because he just doesn't crack the ball. Yeah. And you go, again, I feel bad because I really like Caden Murley. I really want him to succeed in an England shirt because I think he's absolutely carrying the Quins team at the moment. I think he cares massively. I think physically he's got all the attributes. And I think when he's playing, I watched him for the A team. He was the standout player on the pitch. I think last week he was probably England's standout player, along with Beno.
I think he does offer something different to all the other wingers England have in the squad. I mean, he's a bit more physical than your Arundels, your Radwads, or whoever else, kind of in that kind of small but explosive mould. But he's probably a bit more agile than your Roebucks, your Freemans, your big stocky wingers. So he does offer something different.
But he's making mistakes that cost tries, and he did last year.
Yeah.
That's ultimately, it's like, well, can he cut those mistakes out? Can we afford to give him the time to do it? Because in this game, he nearly cost two. He did cost one. He nearly cost two tries. And again, it's a shame because he's, as you say, physically, he's a really interesting profile of player to have in there. He's different to Feo, so he's different to Freeman. He's different to Roebuck. it's a good, and he's a leader at club level. He's got a 360 game. He can kick, he can run, he can tackle, he can juke. It's all in there.
He's just got this error proneness to him.
But he's error prone, and that's a problem. But I mean, so many fascinating performances better. The line out obviously hugely better. I think the 3 7s in the back row has got to be canned now. I think you need to have 3 proper line out jumpers there.
Yeah.
That was just such an obvious fix. The maul was better just with having bigger players in there.
Chesham at 6 was
Chesham.
What a performance!
Oh, I mean, I thought it was really good. I thought Itoje was world class. Ollie Chesham was on a different planet. I mean, don't be wrong. The intercept is obviously the massive thing. To run it in from 45 metres out as effectively a lock. Let's be realistic about it. He's got 6 on his back, but he's a lock. He's an athletic lock, but he's a lock.
This is why I'm not buying. Like, you hear all these people saying, "Oh, why didn't he run it under the posts?" He was in his head. He was getting chased by Beep Beep, Jalabert, Atisogbe, Ramos. He is getting to the line as best he can. It doesn't matter where he's.
And also, let's be frank about this. For all, Finn Smith was very good in this game. For what's meant to be a Test match level kicker, that's not the hardest kick in the world to nail, and it wasn't the only one he missed.
I'm a devout Saint fan. I am not going to sit here and pretend he's having a good season off the tee. He is not having a good season. He's not in the top 10 in the Prem for kick accuracy.
Yeah.
Top 10.
Which is weird because he is a good kicker. I don't know what's going on.
Last season,
technique or what?
Well, whatever Johnny Sexton was teaching him on the Lions tour, he just needs to forget it because ever since he's come back, his kicking percentage has gone backwards. Like he was a high 80% kicker last season. He's like mid-60s this season, which is worrying, but I know that he's better than that. And I think maybe it's just got in his head. It's just become a problem. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's all Finn Smith's fault we lost this game because of missed kicks. Because fly halves miss kicks unless it's Thomas Ramos.
They do. And, I think if we're being realistic, we have to blame Pollock.
No, not buying it.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. David Morgan-Jones of the Armod pod specifically blames Henry Pollock for England's loss against France.
I haven't said that at all.
Best to the takes, people.
The second Henry Pollock celebrated that try, I thought, that feels like something that might come back to bite us. But I'm not buying that he threw it away because one, maybe Jack Van Portfleet shouldn't have kicked away in the 78th minute. 2, Henry Pollock stole the ball, so at least he was doing something to try and win the game. And then
he then threw it away though, didn't he?
But Murley didn't need to try and kick it. He could have picked it up or put a better effort at what was going on in that. Like, you can't put that all on Pollock. And then everything that happened after that, that's not Pollock's fault either. So let's not put it all on the young man. At least he stole the ball. He was just being Pollock and thought maybe
it's a naive moment though. It's a naive moment that, again, it kind of falls into the camp of things England have got to improve drastically. They've got to make less naive decisions. It's I keep coming back to Murley. It's him making the tackle in the air. That leads to does it lead to the maul try? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's right before kickoff, isn't it? So they kick the ball in the air, he gives away the penalty, they kick to the corner, they put pressure on, get another penalty, kick to the other corner, maul comes on, Genge is deemed to have collapsed the maul and is
your thoughts on that? I've seen some claiming it shouldn't have been given as a penalty try.
I don't think it should have been because he spun the front man. So the maul spun round, he's hit it and he's spun it round and he's dragged it out. I think Aldegheri goes to ground. I don't think it's a collapsed maul and penalty try. I think it's really good maul defence. Yeah, I think that was the wrong call. Look, it's a close one. It's 50. Like if I was sat here in a France shirt, I would be.
Well, wait.
I am. In my France shirt that I am sat here in, I'm saying it's a penalty try and a yellow card. Where I wear in my England shirt, it's really good maul defence and it's really harsh. It's a bit of a judgment call on the referee. You probably most of the time that does go towards the attacking team, but yeah. I'm not convinced that's exactly what the call should have been, but it comes from naive decision making. It comes from
being in that position in the first place.
All we've got to do is see out the half. All Murley has to do is track the ball, track the jumper, lock him for 6, and you're defending on the halfway line. Instead, you give away the penalty, you give away field position, you give away pressure, and eventually you give away a try and a yellow card. And then the yellow card, if you include the penalty try, is a 21-point swing.
Yeah, that was a big moment, yeah.
It's a huge swing under pressure. And don't get me wrong, the hands for Le Beat Beeps tried just after half-time, particularly from Miafu, the handling from them is out of this world. But England just seemed to... France are really good against 14 men.
Yeah.
England are really bad with 14 men. They could see something like 60, 70 points with 14 men in this tournament, and they've been down to 14 men a lot, or 13.
Yeah.
For whatever it is, they just seem to lose the ability to slow France's momentum, which is hard. I grant you it's hard. And Itoje did manage a really good steal in that sequence. But the momentum swing was so quick when they're down to 14 that, yes, France are really good and they were playing amazing, and it did feel like a runaway freight train. But there's got to be something in that England team that allows them to arrest that momentum. They've got to find a way to do it, or they've got to stop giving away yellow cards. One of the two.
Yeah.
Ideally both, actually, really.
I don't know why it is that way, because it feels like we're always one player short in the defensive line. And we're more often than not, it's a forward. In this case, again, she's got I'm not sure we should be feeling that gap in the defensive line as much.
I should. So, I don't think it should have been such immediate panic, but it is for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's a mentality thing. I think maybe this tournament because we've spent so much time a man down and it's not gone particularly well. It goes panic station straight away. But credit where credit's due. England dragged themselves back into the game after this 21-point swing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, there's more great French attack. They get the penalty under the sticks. Dupont taps and just passes immediately to Sogby in space on the wing.
Yeah.
Again, where's the left winger? It's Murley. It's not there. Fine. Okay. It does feel like I'm picking on it now, doesn't it?
It does feel like you're picking on Murley. I thought, but other than all the other things you said, I thought you had an okay game.
Yeah. It's just all the things he did wrong that are the problem. But all the other things were great.
Yeah.
But then Chesham gets the intercept right before they were back up to 15 men, and that feels like an important moment. Alex Cole's, it's like an ankle injury, comes off, Pollock comes on. Marcus Smith's on at this point. They go 19 phases. I don't think they've gone that many phases in the whole tournament up to this point.
No, I don't think they have.
And Marcus Smith finishes off with a really lovely goosey into the corner, which is what Marcus Smith does when he's got time and space.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, they're a bit unlucky with the next one because the referee changes his call from a penalty to a knock-on. So when England overplay it and kick it, advantage. And so then they kick the ball, advantage over. Dupont then hoofs it 80 yards and Le Beat Beep just out-sprints everyone, Murley.
Oh, Murley, I'm sorry. To be fair, it was an unfair matchup against Le Beat Beep on the day.
I mean, it's unfair for everyone. No one's catching it. It's fine. But it's just what it is. But it's unfortunate, and it's a bit unfair of the ref to call advantage over at that moment when England think they're under penalty advantage. But again, not everything goes your way.
Ref's going to ref.
Refs are going to ref. But then, England put more pressure on. They force a yellow card from Demba Bamba. And they put more phase play together and put Freeman over. Again, so there's flashes of really, really, really good stuff from England. And then the naive stuff, it obviously ends with the big naive moment. Obviously, Pollock doesn't secure the ball. I'm not going to put the whole loss down to Pollock.
No, he secures the ball and then gives it away.
Yeah, but the key point of this is he gives it away. A non-naive team, he carries it up. He doesn't try and offload it. I mean, Murley maybe he should have dived on it, but I don't think Murley's expecting the pass then because he shouldn't pass at that moment.
And let's face it, the way Murley's gone this game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the man to pass it to.
But Pollock should be taking it into contact, secure the ball. You got to go one, maybe two more phases, and you've won the game. They don't do that. They lose the ball. There's then, I think, Trevor Davidson and Toje both give away high tackles. Yeah. And Ramos, I mean, he kicks so well, you'd let him kick your dog to death because you think he'd just be perfect at it.
The second the penalty, it's comforting for me because the second the penalty was gone, I knew it was going over, so I had time to come to terms with it. I wasn't agonising because Ramos was going to get that kick 99 times out of 100. There was no agonising for me because it was as sure as a sure thing could be. It's just, I think you're right. Credit where's credit's due. At the start of this game, if you had offered me a 2-point nail-biter, 94-point thriller, I was taking that every day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, at the start of the day on Super Saturday, I was going into it thinking, I'm going to enjoy the Ireland-Scotland game. I might enjoy the Wales-Italy game, depending on which way it goes. And I'll just be so pissed by the time the England game starts that I won't care so much that we're getting battered.
Yeah.
And in the end, it was fantastic. And they've asked as many questions as they answered with this performance. There's still a lot of questions to what's going on here, and I think we should get into that a little bit in terms of a review. But the game in and of itself, I was delighted by the intent, how they played. For passages of it, I thought they were really, really good across the park. I include Murley in that. But I thought that backline across the park at times looked excellent. I thought they all really contributed to this. I thought Seb Atkinson looked much more assured at 12. I thought he dovetailed really well with Tommy Freeman. I thought Ben Spencer got the absolute balance right of when to control and when to go. I thought Finn Smith looked a lot freer with the ball in hand. I do think Murley and Roebuck were really threatening on the wing. I thought Daly looked good, generally pretty good under the high ball. I thought he generally made good decisions. When he kicked well.
That left boot's still a weapon, isn't it, that he's got?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think the pack as a collective did all the things we've been asking of them for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm not happy that they lost, but you have to tip your hat to a France display that was as thrilling. Jalabert getting that break at the end to get the momentum on. Labib just constantly just a threat and just always just constantly looking to finish it off.
Yeah.
Ramos with the boot that just secures the game at the death. And then just the handling in the pack. Miafu was sensational in this game.
I don't know why every kickoff they kicked it to him. What are you doing?
A man of that size to have that kind of dexterity is disgusting. I mean, why didn't I get that? Olive on everywhere, as per Guillard when he came on was everywhere. At the end of the day, you've got to say, look, France probably overall shaded it, and they're probably the best team in the Six Nations at the moment. I think they probably deserve the winners of it.
Yeah, worthy winners of the tournament for sure.
Yeah, but England turned up
and ran them close.
After the last few weeks, I'll take it.
Yeah, the only thing for England now is that has to be their benchmark. That has to be the level. And I don't know how many times we've said this. Let's not revert back to what we saw for the last 3 rounds, because it was more. This was more England versus Argentina in the summer. This was more England in the autumn before. This is what we'd kind of grown accustomed to. So I don't know really what's happened in that 3-4 week period. Let's put it behind us and let's focus going forward. So as you said, Rory, full credit to France, worthy winners of the game and the tournament in general. Just ultimately probably been the most fun team to watch generally. And that game ended 48-46, which fantastic game for the viewer. But we sit here not as demoralised as we could have been England fans.
Yeah, correct.
Where does England go now? We know Borthwick is staying there till the World Cup, so we're not even going to talk about does Borthwick leave or go, because that to me feels like a moot debate. I just don't see that happening now. What needs to happen going forward for the England camp to get England fans like us back on the bandwagon?
After this week, I am more of the opinion that a lot of what's let England down over the last few weeks has come from the players more so than the coaches. And what I mean by that is, if we take the last game, there's a really indicative moment where there's 3-on-1 on the outside. Seb Atkinson's got the ball. And rather than passing to the 3 men into space who've got a clean break and opportunity to isolate Lewis Liner and score, he kicks it. There's not a coach in the world who tells you to do that. No one.
Yeah.
Steve Borthwick's not telling you to do that. No one is. That is a playing group that was afraid to play, afraid to take opportunities, and afraid to play what's in front of them. So from my point of view, the players have now proven from this performance that they are perfectly capable of that level of attacking verve. You know, they know how to spot space. They know how to create quick ball. They know how to secure breakdowns. They know how to get physically on top of a big pack and be dominant and keep your foot on the throat and take opportunities. So the players have got to own that forwards. You can't come to the summer and the players all of a sudden forget how to execute a 2-on-1, a 3-on-1, whatever it ends up being. That's no longer an acceptable excuse. I mean, never was, but you just can't accept that. From a coaching perspective, I don't think any changes should be made. I think part of the problem is they keep making bloody changes.
Yeah.
I think keep the coaches as it is now. You know, there's question marks of people in the right jobs. Are there too many coaches? Is there enough space for certain coaches to speak? That is for Steve Borthwick to handle, and he needs to make sure he's handling that. He needs to make sure that Lee Blackett is a prominent voice in the coaching group and is allowed to imprint an attacking game plan that the players can execute. So that is on the England setup now. Whatever comes out of this review they're doing, the players cannot walk away from this going, well, that was good, and then not think about it again. They've set a level now of attacking play that they can achieve.
Yeah.
They've got to fix loads of other things. They've got to fix the edge defence. They've got to fix the defence in general. They've got to fix discipline. They've got to improve at the breakdown in general. It was better this week, but they've got to keep improving at the breakdown. They've got to recognise that the game has shifted, and one of the things that the blitz defence has really offered as what has been offered as a solution to the blitz defence, I should say, is the necessity to have a second playmaker who can put the ball beyond the last man. Realistically, unfortunately, Freddie Stewart's not that guy. So I think they're going to have to move on from that and make a decision as to who's your playmaker at 15. For me, it's Furbank. It could be Daly. It could be Marcus Smith. That's the reality. If you're going to beat defences, you need to have that ability to play the ball from the back as well as through the 10 and through the 12. You need a 10 who can play. You need a 12 who can play. You need a 15 who can play. Finn Smith, Seb Atkinson, George Furbank, Finn Smith, Max Ajomo, George Furbank. You know, the debate will go on that one. But for me, that's the reality of it. But you know, if this team's going to get to the levels that it wants to, and it's going to compete at the next World Cup, I think they've shown this week that they're capable of that. It's in them. They are going to have to this summer prove that on maybe the toughest environment of all, which is away in South Africa. But they're going to have to prove that they can maintain that level week in, week out, because that's what South Africa do. That's what France do. It's what the best Kiwi teams did. It's what the best Ireland teams do. That's the level they're going to have to maintain now. And whatever they have to do emotionally to get to that level, that's what they need to work out what that formula looks like. I think, look, there's issues on the coaches, and they need to answer some questions here. But I think a lot of that's going to fall down to the players now, that they need to take some ownership of that.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. It does definitely feel like a player. It requires the players to turn up and play without fear and remember what it is to play for that shirt and all those cliches that we hear about. But it's true, because I think if you don't get that emotional level right, you're going to turn up and you're going to either play with fear because it's the moment's too much, you're emotionally scared to lose something that you've got, or you turn up and you're not tired, you're not hyped up enough, and you're going to lose the physical battle. Like it's a tricky balance to get right. That's why the coaches are paid the big bucks, because they need to get that right. And maybe in this France game, we've seen what that England team can do when that emotional dial is tuned to the right level. And I liked what I saw, and I agree. It has to be the benchmark up against South Africa, because if we can run France this close in Paris, there's no reason why we can't go to South Africa and really put on as good of a performance as we can, and not like it. The minimum for me has to be, we have to run South Africa close, and we can't just let them run away with a game, because I think that would be a step backwards. And I do think we've got the players, and I do think we've got the coaches. We just need to get that combination right.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's almost, maybe it's a good thing that the next game is probably the hardest possible game in World Rugby, because there's no hiding now. we can't say anything other than, like, if you can't get that team up for this game, I don't know what the answer is, because if you can't get a team up for South Africa away in the first round of a whole new competition, well, we can kiss 2027 World Cup goodbye. That's for sure. But hey, we're England fans. We're a positive pod. We're optimistic, and I hope England do have the answers. But for this podcast, Rory, we'll bring that conversation to a close. We're going to do a quick cancer. So I've written down my team of the tournament. I'll run you through my team of the tournament, and I will allow you to critique it as much as you like and provide with me with alternatives that I will more than likely accept, but some I may say no to. And then once we've done that, we'll do a bit of our bread and butter. We'll do a little run through the predictions for the Prem. That comes back this weekend. The rugby comes thick and fast. Oh, I can't wait for the Prem to come back. But my team of the tournament, Rory. In the one shirt, Reece Carré. In at hooker, Dewey Link. At 3, tight head, Simone Ferrari. 4, Canone. 5, I've gone Olivon. 6, Tag Burn. I know there's a little bit of positional jiggery-pokery, but I think Tag Burns, he fits there. 7, Rory Darge. 8, Ben Earl. 9, Jameson Gibson Park. 10, Mathieu Jalibert. 11, Le Beep Beep. 12, McCloskey. 13, Minoncello. 14, Kyle Stain. And 15, Thomas Ramos, your heart throb. Critique away, Rory.
So, backline-wise, I think I'm pretty much in agreement. I don't think I've got any questions or any issues with that at all. I think you've nailed the backline, actually. I would think honourable mentions, Asisogbe, probably.
I think
Balakoon
was nearly in there. I nearly put Tuipulotu in as well. And obviously it was DuPont and Gibson Park weighing up, and I just think Gibson Park. I think Gibson Park had a much more influential tournament compared to DuPont this time round, which may be controversial to some, but I think DuPont was overshadowed by Jalibert this tournament.
That's fair enough. Up front, I like it a lot. I would probably make the case for Nicotero over Dewey Lake.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But that's a close one. I like the Dewey Lakes there, so I'm not going to argue with it too much. Simon Ferrari, correct. Reece Carré, correct. Canone, Olivon. I like that you've put Olivon in the second row. That is where he's been most of the tournaments. That's probably about right. I can't think that there's who else might be.
I nearly went Guillard.
Yeah, Guillard would be in the conversation with other Canone, possibly. But no, I'm probably just about in agreement with that. I think. I think that's probably about right. Back row wise, I think Irish listeners will be.
The problem is I couldn't squeeze Byrne, Doris, Earl, and Darge in together. That was the problem.
No, I think Irish listeners would say Doris over Earl just for overall contribution to a winning team, which I get. Although I think Earl has been an absolute standout for England, and probably has. I mean, stat wise, he's probably ahead of everyone. So I think you're probably just about okay there. But I would just caution you that some Irish listeners might not be overly pleased there.
That's fine.
Darge probably just shades over Zuliani, but I think Zuliani was really, really good.
Yeah, Zuliani's close. Yeah, that's not a bad
Alex
shout.
Mann again. I think at 6 has got a good shout, but you're probably right to put Byrne in there.
Yeah.
Jack Dempsey, Scotland was very good.
He was close.
Kroos for France did a lot of good unseen stuff that they needed to get the rest of the team going.
I think if Jalonch wasn't injured for the last game, he could have been in there as well, but he kind of maybe been forgotten about.
Yeah, Lamoureux.
Yeah, a lot of good back rows this tournament.
A lot of good options, but I think on balance, I'm going to agree with your team.
Yes,
I'll be splitting hairs on a few. But actually, I'm pretty happy with that. And a Gloucester player made the hooker, so I'm fine with that.
Future Gloucester player. There's still time for Gloucester to do something to his career. No, actually, at Manly Fair, I've been very positive with the Gloucester fans who attend because you've done probably one of the smartest bits of recruitment ever that club could do in bringing in Chris Boyd. Because I've seen what he done to Northampton, and I think he could do the same for Gloucester. So
we're in a totally different realm now, but just as I actually brought it up, when I was thinking, I was like, well, if you were Gloucester, who's it possible to model off? You think, well, difficult to model off Saracens or Quins. You just don't have. You're not in London, so no, can't really model off Leicester. Too big a town. Too much depth of support there in terms of just the size of the place. Northampton's probably the closest one in terms of size of town, size of available fan base. You know, there's obviously differences in terms of. You know, there's a good piece in the BBC about Northampton schoolboys.
Yeah, I read that.
But you know, Gloucester have got a lot of really good rugby playing schools as well. So I think as a model, probably about the right decision to make. We'll see how it turns out, but I'm hoping giving Skivs more time on the training paddock and letting other people. It's Chris Boyd and the lad, the bloke they brought in from Bath, who was at Gloucester before. His name's just escaped me. He's coming in as basically general manager.
Yes, I can't remember his name either. That's.
But it's a really good bit of business. He's very well rated in terms of Bath's recruitment. So he's going to do all like the contract stuff. Chris Boyd's going to do strategy, and Skimmins can just get back to being on the training paddock, which is where he's best at. So yes, I think we've made some good decisions ahead of next season.
And some good signings, and that is a very apt segue into what is our predictions for the Prem Rugby Round 11 that kicks off this weekend. And I love a seamless transition from Six Nations to Gallagher Prem. It's nothing better. And it kicks off with a humdinger, Rory. It kicks off.
It does.
Friday night, Bath versus Saracens. And we have to bear in mind, all these teams, they're going to be balancing returning England players. I think there'll be that rule that they'll have to. I think they can only play 2 out of the next 3 games. They need to be rested in at least one of them. There's a European game for most of these teams that are a part of that equation. So it's going to be interesting, the players that are going to be put on the pitches. But I fully suspect Bath and Saracens to go pretty gung-ho here.
I think they'll both go full ball. Also we're trying to get back into a Prem state of mind. Unless something drastic. I know Saracens have obviously got the change at the top coming. Mark McCall's announced he's leaving. Brendan Venter's coming in. I don't necessarily expect to make an immediate change in the mood. Saracens may even dampen it, really. So I think probably Bath are going to end up winning this, and it's at the Rec. So I'm going to say it's going to be probably not as close as you'd imagine. I think it's something in the region of 32-18, 32-20.
Yeah, I think whatever's going on at Bath, I imagine they've used this period of time to work a few things out, because I think things weren't quite going to plan before the Six Nations.
They also had the all clear from the salary officer.
Yes, they have. So
another man bribed.
Yeah, you can pass your audit, but you can't pass the vibe check, Bath. We know what you're up to. But yeah, I agree. I think Bath comfortable winners here, and yeah, it's a good game to come back to. Next game, Harlequins versus Gloucester. Rory, how would you see that? You're going to the Stoop. Oh, I bet you can't.
I'm going to the Stoop. I've obviously watched a bit of what Gloucester have done in the in-between. We've obviously had a lot of time on the paddock. We haven't had too many players away on duty. Obviously, a few in Wales, Seb Atkinson with England, but what we have got is a number of players back from injury, back on the paddock. We last game I watched was us away at Bath, where Bath went pretty full bore. We went pretty full bore in the Prem Cup. In front of a sold-out Rec, and we ran Bath reasonably close, but we looked much better. We looked much better with the ball. I think they found the formula, which is we're picking Charlie Atkinson 10.
Yeah, who'd have thought?
I think we'll win this one. We've not got a great record against Quins, but we've not got a great record in general. So
yeah, I've got quite a vague memory of you coming back from your trip to Twickenham last season, and they just absolutely tore you a good one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I still don't rate this Quins side, so I'm just going to I'm going to back us to win this one. I think it'll be something like 22-15 to Gloss.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's going to be one score in it. Whether that's in Gloucester's favour, I'm not sure. It's always hard. It's always hard to predict these post Six Nation window games. But just for you, Rory, I'm going to back your boys. I'm going to back Gloucester to win this one slightly. And on a similar note, Rory, the next game, Northampton Saints against the Red Bulls.
Newcastle are appalling away from home.
I
suspect Northampton will be all guns blazing. Or no, they won't be all guns blazing, but there'll be enough guns blazing.
Yeah.
And I suspect this will be something in the region of 45-10.
I really hope you're right. To me, it's got like banana skin slightly written on it because Red Bulls. Well, so when we went up to there to play, like the first couple of weeks of them being the Red Bulls, they gave us a real scare.
But they're so bad away from home.
They're not a great away from home. I'm just Northampton historically have never done well on the fringes of international windows, especially ones where we lose a lot of our players. So I'm cautious, but I agree Northampton should win this one comfortably and get the 5 points. It should be a bonus point win. That should be the minimum out of this game. But I'm cautious about the optics and the placement of it in the calendar. But I remain optimistic.
Come on, say it with your chest, David.
Saints to win by 50. Next game, Exeter against Sale Sharks. The beleaguered Exeter Chiefs who sent their kids out to be stomped on by Leicester Tigers in that silly competition. Up against Sale Sharks, who really want to start turning their fortunes around in this tournament if they have any aspirations of making any sort of run.
They also want Newcastle to stop signing all of their players. I think so. Any the other day, a player we'd never even heard of until a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was quite good. I was off to Newcastle, okay.
Yeah, they're doing that thing where they're signing all the really exciting youngsters that no one's heard of yet, but will probably be quite good when they come to it.
Yeah. And
then next,
will win this one, I think. I think Sale look like they've come to the end of a project to me, and they need to refresh what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think Exeter will win this one. I don't think it'll be masses between. I don't think it's going to be like an absolute drubbing, but it's going to be something like 29-12. So I think it'll be comfortable-ish.
Yeah, I was thinking like 30-22. So they'll keep Sale at arm's length. Like they'll keep them 2 scores away. And they'll just kind of grind it out. That's how I see it. And then the Sunday game, Welford Road, Leicester Tigers up against the Bristol Bears, who are just an enigma when it comes to no idea what they're going to be like. They'll have the likes of Gabriel Ibatoy back, who is just an absolute wild card when it comes to rugby. But Leicester have been quietly impressive this season.
Yeah, this is probably the toughest one to call of the weekend, actually. I'm going to back Tigers on the basis that it's at home, but through no other logic, really. Because Bristol fired our expectations, really, in this season and keep going. But purely on the basis that it's at Welford Road, I'm just going to back Tigers to sneak it. Could be a really good game. 25-22 to Tigers. They're going to sneak it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a close one. I do think it being at Welford Road changes it because I think the way the Bears play, it's like fast and loose, and playing at Welford Road is quite suffocating because the crowd's close to the pitch. It's quite a small. I remember someone saying that it's the smallest pitch in the Prem in terms of like dimensions.
Yeah,
so
that sounds like something Tigers would do.
Exactly. So I think that doesn't play into Bristol's hands at all. So yeah, I agree. I think Leicester to win this one by less than a score, but it'll be typical Leicester. But we'll check in next week when we get back to talking Prem rugby, Rory, and we'll start going back to more domestic issues. We'll do a roundup of all the signings that have taken place over the Six Nations. Maybe we can broach the subject that we've kind of ignored until now about the confirmed closed shop and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we'll dig into all that next week. But for this week, Rory, I think that brings this episode of Ruxballs and Overballs, the podcast, to a close, and that invites you, Rory, for your final thought.
Allez les bleus, c'est magnifique. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
And that, everyone, is Rory's final thought. We have been Ruxballs Overballs. Hope you've enjoyed listening. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, and send them carrier pigeons. Also, I forgot to say, you can now send a text to the podcast if you click on the description on whatever platform you listen to. There's a little link that you can send us a text. Send us a text and we'll answer your question on the podcast. I haven't tested it out yet, so I don't know if it works. So let us know if it does. But we'll be back again next week. Ta-ra!
Ta-da.